Rainy and cold. Yeah, same here. All right. Beautiful and cold in Seattle. Good morning, Paula. Bonjour to France. Nice. I don't know, Chris, about solar observations. I don't see the sun here. But Sarah, who's 10 miles away from where I live, can. So I have no idea what's going on. Microclimate in Massachusetts. Here we are. Snow in winter, yeah.
I think we can start here shortly.
Yes, just give us a couple more minutes. We are also broadcasting live on YouTube, so individuals who are interested can actually watch us from YouTube. So why don't we get started in order to make sure that we are on time? Give me a second. All right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Stella Kafka, and I am the Executive Director of the AAVSO, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all to day 2 of our virtual meeting. So I would like to start with some logistics. There are 2 buttons at the very bottom of your screen. The one is the chat one that we're using right now to say good morning and say hi. That is going to be disabled during our presentations. And the second one is Q&A. Please use this one for any questions you might have, and we will answer them after the presentations. Also, if you have any issues with your microphone, or even if you have any issues with your sound, please use this drop-down menu in order to fix them. There's nothing we can do about them from here, from headquarters, but this is a local issue that can be fixed from your computer. We have a full schedule for you today. We're going to start the first part of our meeting with our usual membership meeting that is actually open to anyone and everyone in the world, where we're going to be discussing aspects of our strategic plan, the journal, and any other business. I'm joined here with our president, Gordon Myers, our treasurer, Bob Stevens, and editor-in-chief, journal editor-in-chief, Nancy Morrison. So we're going to be discussing all aspects of the business part of the AAVSO. And then we have a full science schedule, the second part. And after we're done with that, we have a how-to hour with Ken Menzies, Greg Sivakov, and Ed Wiley, which is actually separate and free for everyone. We have actually 360 people signed up for that. It's going to be really cool. I want to remind you and prompt you to actually look at the posters. The poster hall is virtual, as is everything else this year, but we have really good science being discussed there, and actually a couple of the posters have recordings with them, accompanying them, so please take a look at those. And last but not least, I would like to thank and acknowledge our sponsors that make this virtual conference possible: OPSTEC, QHY-CCD, Optical Structures, First Light Observatory Systems, and our Telescope for their support. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite our president, board president, Gordon Myers, to take over.
Okay, good morning, everybody. The screen showing, I hope?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. It's great to have everybody here. I would just like to add my welcome to the 2020 AAVSO membership meeting. I hope you had a great time yesterday. I thought some of the presentations were really excellent, and I appreciate all of the effort that went into those. The breakout sessions were a lot of fun too. I visited, I think, almost every one. I would drop in for a few minutes and see how they were going, and people were having a lot of fun. There was great camaraderie, a lot of good questions, a lot of discussion. And also the workshops. We had these two workshops, the spectroscopy workshop and the data mining workshop. And all I can say is they were phenomenal. What people learned, the presentations, the content of those, the presenters, I just wanted to thank those who really put all the work together in to make those so effective. It shows what AAVSO can do in terms of really helping educate all of us who enjoy this wonderful astronomy subject and the study of variable stars. So today's membership meeting, as Stella has said, has four major parts. She and I are going to split this first presentation on the strategic plan. And then Bob's going to give you a view of the finances. Nancy's going to give you, I think, really a great vision of where she sees JAAVSO going. And then finally, Stella and I will get back up at the end and give you some wrap-up comments, the results of the elections, the bylaw vote, and a couple of closing comments. So with that, let me talk a little bit about the strategic plan. Now, most of you know we started this effort 2 years ago. I will tell you, I saw a lot of eyes roll when we first said we were going to do a strategic plan. It was like, well, that won't produce anything. Well, actually, I think it's produced a lot of good insight into the organization of who we are, where we're going, and what we want to be in the future. There was a lot of work done by a lot of different people. The board, I'm not exaggerating to say they probably put in thousands of hours each participating in various meetings and studying more about the organization. As we started the strategic plan, and we mentioned this last year in Las Cruces, but I wanted to come back and just comment on it for a minute. The first question was kind of are we still relevant in this 21st century with what's going on in the world, with the advent of all sky surveys, with all of the space telescopes? Can amateurs really make a difference? And I've got really two answers. One was the one we gave last year, which was yes, if you just looked at what's coming out of the all sky surveys and the number of new objects and targets that are being identified that nobody fully understands, and the demands from the professional community saying, I need more data on these objects, I need follow-up, I need time series. Many of these targets are brighter than you can view with space telescopes and professional equipment. I mean, to them, 16, 17th magnitude is too bright. So there are a lot of things we can do, and there's been a huge increase in the demand for what professionals want from us. But there's a second part of the answer, and I go back to the original founding documents about why AAVSO was created. We showed this last year, but in the purpose of the organization, it was for the promotion of variable star astronomy and kindred subjects. And that was the reason AAVSO was created. So it wasn't just go do photometry. It wasn't go just do the variable stars. It was the people at that time having the self-awareness, the insight in that there was more up there than they understood, or even than we understand now. And I try to visualize these people coming into a meeting like today and hearing the discussions about what we know now about different types of variable stars. And then things like, well, they're black holes. Well, then they're exoplanet observations we do. Well, these are things that were beyond their ken. They didn't even know they existed. And if they could look at the equipment we have to do the observations, the CCDs, CMOS, spectroscopy, the kinds of work we do, I think they would just be overwhelmed with what this organization is now involved in. And when I come back to this question, are we relevant? To me, we are more relevant now than we ever have been. And what I mean by that is there is more demand and more opportunity for amateurs to be involved in the study of variable stars and in research in the field of astronomy. So I think we're in a very good position to really begin to grow and expand the organization. Now, how did we build the plan? As I mentioned, the board was extensively involved, as was the staff. We were fortunate enough to get a pro bono consulting agreement with the Harvard Business School Community Action Partners Group in Boston. They were phenomenal. They helped us be much more objective, and they reminded us there were a lot of things that we had not even thought to look at that we needed to examine. We had lots of discussions with different people in both the members and professionals, did a lot of analysis of all the work we do. And at the end of the day, we focused on 5 what they called work streams. One was the IT. Is our IT system capable of doing what is needed? They realized IT is the core of a lot of what we do. Marketing, a word that we didn't even use. And they said, you know, you're not getting your word out. People don't know you're here, that you don't know you exist. You've got to do more to both professionals and amateurs to get people aware of AAVSO. You've got to be clear about your mission. You've got to be able to explain to people why you do a variable star observing. If you want donations, you can't just say, well, we enjoy observing variable stars. You have to say why that is valuable. They looked at the finances and they said, you know, I think you folks are really kind of teetering on a long-term problem here that you really need to take a look at. And finally, they reminded us that we have so many volunteers. I think it's over 120 volunteers that work with our staff of 6. And how do you make all that come together? How do you make all the efforts of all these people focus on the goals and the objectives of AAVSO? Well, we came down to 3 fundamental objectives. And I want to talk briefly about each of these. One is high membership satisfaction. One is an increased impact of the organization. And the other is our long-term financial stability. Those are the 3, I'd like to call them the legs of the stool that are important. Now, when we talked about this in the last couple of meetings, we didn't really explain what that meant. And I just want to take a minute and talk about that. What is high membership satisfaction? Well, to understand what that is, you have to understand who we are. Who are our members? Why do people belong? And some of these we knew well, and others, frankly, we didn't really focus on, and we needed to. Participation in scientific research. That one's been, you know, forefront from the very beginning. Everybody knows that is critical, maybe the primary reason the organization exists is to bring these opportunities to blend the amateur community working with professionals to advance science. Another key component to get that data, though, you need outstanding instrumentation and equipment knowledge. And we have now, as you know, we've increased our focus on that. We've added a new section to focus on instrumentation and equipment. And we realize, and again, I'm not exaggerating, we have world-class individuals, members in our organization who know as much about CMOS technology, as much about photometry, as much about spectroscopy. We have people who understand that at a world-class level. So we need to be sure that we keep a focus on this whole engineering aspect. And a lot of members wanted us to help expand that activity. Other members are professional astronomers. Well, that one's pretty straightforward. They need us. They want our data. I noticed in the presentations yesterday, the professionals who were talking often came back to this research was enabled by the research that AAVSO does. But in addition to this kind of the observing end, we found that we have a lot of members who, frankly, they just enjoy observing and exploring the night sky. They want to understand astronomy. They want to meet people who have a similar interest. They don't observe, but they support us. We did one review of the major donors, financial donors to the organization, and almost like 40% of them don't observe, but they love what the organization does. They love learning. They love going to many of the choice courses. They love participating in these meetings. Another reason people belong is friendship. You know, we sometimes don't think about this as a responsibility we have as an organization, but through meetings, through whether it's online or in person, we enable people to meet others and develop friendships. And finally, they're just people who they say, you know, what you do is important, and we want to support the mission of AAVSO. Now I'm going to tangent very briefly here to a subject that I would just say I personally ran into a buzzsaw and did not realize until I got cut, I guess is the way you would say it. Some people are very sensitive about how we refer to ourselves. And at the joint meeting with SAS, we had a questionnaire that said, if you're not a professional astronomer, what do you call yourself? And this was the response. Well, A, you'll notice it's not universal. And B, and I am a party of cause of this, I often refer to myself or refer to variable astronomy as my hobby. Well, I have found out that the word hobby really annoys some people. And they thought we somehow were rejecting them as being, the high quality and work they do. So whatever you refer to yourself as, we will stick with the words amateur astronomers, citizen scientists. I use the word non-professionals a lot, but don't take don't be upset if we slip or if I ever use the word hobby. What about the impact of the organization? Well, the impacts, part of it's clear and well known as we went into this, the research connection. But again, back to the members, the impact on their lives. I mean, try to imagine being involved in what we do and what we learn if AAVSO did not exist. It would have to be created. It would have to be created because we provide the knowledge and the information that enables people to really participate in this activity. Another thing that we want to do more of in terms of impact of the organization is bringing more people into and involved in the study of variable stars. In the beginning, we actually had some conversations where we said, well, how do people get to the AAVSO? And the answer was typically, well, they find us. If they're smart enough, they'll find us. Well, no, that's not adequate for the world we live in now. That's not adequate to get to young people today. We've got to be out there, and this word marketing, you'll hear it again and again. We need to be out in the general astronomy amateur community, communicating what we do to pull people in, to show them what they can do, and to really to introduce them to a new part of their interest. And finally, the education and training material, the impact. I'll go back to the two workshops, this meeting. It's just amazing. And like Stella said, this afternoon session with Ken Menzies, 200 some odd people participating because they want to know how to do this. So all of these things are ways we impact the organization. Financial stability. We've talked about this, and I just want to highlight it here. I'm going to summarize it. We have got to reduce our dependency on the endowment. Our assets are basically the same as they were 20 years ago, but the purchasing power is down 30%. Well, if we get stuck there, then you have to reduce staff and do less. And yet we're sitting here wanting to do more and seeing the opportunity and the demand to do more. So we have got to crack that nut. And that means getting out there, finding foundations who will support us, doing more work with NSF and NASA, getting more individuals to respond, getting more support from our members, increasing our membership helps. Now, all of these things are necessary for the financial stability. I will comment that a lot of people, when we come out and ask for money, say, well, you have a big endowment, so you don't need additional money. Well, if we want to go out of business, we can stick with that attitude, but we can't do that. Every professional organization, any nonprofit you know of that has an endowment says you must limit your withdrawals to 4 to 5% annually in order to maintain it in the long term. And we want this organization to be out here in 218 years, not just 109. We want this organization to remain and be viable. So that's why you'll hear so much focus on financial stability. Okay, my last slide. So how will we know we're successful? I mean, what are we going to look at? So, it's not just you have a nice plan, it's do you execute it? And we're now at this transition from creating a plan to executing the plan. Well, then how do you know if you're successful? And we don't have metrics for all of these, but I think these are the things we're going to be looking at. Membership. Membership tells us a lot, right? You either grow or you die, okay? And when people leave, they leave for a reason. Why? And we need to have this growth to increase our impact, to enable us to do more, to bring in let's be realistic. We have an age issue. We want to reach out into a younger community. It always amazes me that we sometimes say, well, you can only join this organization if you've retired. And Most of the people who are here who have retired joined a long time before they retired. First of all, there are a lot of people. I think there's 200 people with over 25 years, in the organization. So we all joined. Many of us joined when we were younger. As we have gone out into the world of social media, et cetera, we find thousands, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of people who connect to us through our online social media, younger people who want to learn more about what we do. All of that is necessary for us to grow our membership, and that helps money, it helps impact, and just makes things more enjoyable. Data submissions, we always watch data submissions. We primarily have put up charts about the AID. That's great. Certainly that is our core, but we have our spectroscopy database, we have the exoplanet work, we have our solar work, so we're going to start making sure you see all of that. We want to see how people participate in our courses. We'll know if we're making progress if people are actively involved and go to the webinars and our courses. The webinar series this summer was phenomenal, a phenomenal success. 200 to 400 people from around the world participated in virtually every one of those webinars. That shows there's an interest, and it shows what we can do. Observing sections. We want observing sections to become key sub-elements of this organization. We've been pushing on that for the last year. We see more vitality in those, more interest, but there's more work for us to do. It's a way for people to meet others who are interested in their specific area. It's a way to share information. It's a way to build membership, build friendships, get to know people. So you'll see us pushing up hard on the observer sections. And by the way, it's a great volunteer opportunity for people who want to be involved. Marketing and outreach, I've talked about the need for that. We're going to figure out some metric. Did we get articles in Sky and Telescope? Many of you may have seen Richard Berry's recent article. We need more of those. The Astronomy League is another place in their magazines. Getting to amateur clubs around the country, getting information to them. We're looking at, Stella's leading an effort to look at, and Ken Hudson, getting to planetariums, getting information into planetariums so they will know about us. So we really need to focus on getting the word out and getting more people to understand what we do. And finally, finances. The easiest one to measure, and maybe one of the hardest ones to do. Are we raising enough money? Is the endowment stable and then growing? Are we managing to our annual budget? So all of those are ways we will assess our success. So that's the backdrop. That's what we've learned over the last 2 years. And what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Stella, and she's going to be talking more about, okay, what are we going to do about this? How do we implement our plans? What are we going to measure? And what are we seeing when we look at some of the metrics today? So I will hit stop share and let Stella bring up her presentation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Gordon. And again, a very warm welcome from me to everyone all over the world. We're going to talk a little bit more about, in more detail, about some of the aspects of our strategic plan that Gordon touched upon. So we took the 3 main pillars of the strategic plan itself, and we came up with 5 major goals for our future. Each of them translates to various initiatives, some new and some improvements of existing programs that are critical for the vitality of the AAVSO. We have already started implementing some of them. And as we go, we measure their efficiency and impact based on some of the things that Gordon discussed. And I'd like to start with the core of our program, which is actually advancing science. What that translates to is that the AAVSO is a leading citizen astronomy movement by enabling its international community to participate in scientific projects. At the heart of the AAVSO's program is our databases and our scientific work. We aspire to continue being a key resource for professional astronomers, providing the data that they need for their work, data that produce scientific results. We are necessary for professional astronomers' work. We need to realize that. So, and without us, they cannot do it. Our observers are key collaborators in long-term and short-term scientific projects. The AAVSO is committed to support their work and provide the resources and opportunities they need to maximize the impact of their involvement. So what does that mean? We need to continue curating and enhancing our databases. And as Gordon mentioned, we've been showing you information on the AID but here you are with most of the databases. Our databases are the core of our program and our most precious assets. We do recognize that we enable research through access to reliable data found in the AAVSO databases. And what you see here is progress of our major databases by now, showcasing their growth expressed in cumulative data with time. This is the AID that accumulated about 2 million data points this year only, with data from more than 1,000 observers from 60 different countries. So our databases are growing steadily, providing unknown information of all types of stars, both photometric, spectroscopic, and don't forget about our sun. Our sunspot database is actually increasing with time. And not only that, VSX, this is our super catalog. This year, we reached more than 2 million objects included in this catalog. That includes stars from the Zwicky Transit Factory, Assassin, Gaia DR2. So for all those databases, other than ensuring that they're compatible with any infrastructure we develop, we invest staff time and we build volunteer teams focusing on data quality to make sure that researchers download our data without questioning their quality. We also dedicate resources to maintain and enhance relevant tools for data submission and retrieval, and provide software to facilitate data viewing, analysis, and research. Number two, foster strategic partnerships. We will continue fostering key collaborations with high-profile international groups, which will uniquely leverage our observers' experience to enable novel science. Our existing collaboration with the TEST team and JPL's Exoplanet Watch is a prime example for this. Through those projects, we provide opportunities for active engagement and communication and facilitate interactions between our observer community and subject matter experts, professional astronomers, researchers, those who can actually use the data in order to actually produce science. And one of the ways to measure our impact in science is through publications. This is a snapshot from NASA's ADS page that showcases published manuscripts, published scientific papers per year. In 2020, actually, we had more than 300 refereed and non-refereed papers that were presented. And by the way, in 2020, there were 18 papers published on Betelgeuse alone with AAVSO data in them. Number three, we have to focus on our observers. They are the ones who are supporting our databases. We commit to enhance our observer skills even more through appropriate educational material and courses, workshops, discussions on forums, webinars. We will continue renewing and growing our collection of manuals and guides for observation. We will continue offering choice courses, some of which have professional astronomers as instructors. We have an active peer mentoring program, which helps enhance our observers' technical skills and provide advice from experts, and actually help people grow through interactions with more experienced observers. But not only that, our community's work is supported by a very active help desk at headquarters, where staff help observers with data and relevant tools. And also we provide workshops like the ones that preceded this meeting as opportunities for all of us to learn and strengthen our skills in various observing techniques. We're learning how to offer those virtually to engage as many individuals as possible from all over the world. By the way, this past year, we had an increase in requests from mentors. So if you're willing to mentor a fellow AAVSOer and help them improve their skills, please let us know. We need people with observing experience from binocular, visual, CCD, CMOS, DSLR, and spectroscopy. And also we need individuals who are willing to help others with writing JVSO papers for a journal. Number two, we aspire to provide an easy entry point to newcomer observers. We recognize that the AAVSO's work can be intimidating for beginners. They enter a world full of jargon and astronomy knowledge that can be intimidating. It seems that we all know a different language that a newcomer doesn't know, and that can be off-putting. To this direction, we're exploring key partnerships to increase the AAVSO's impact on its international community, provide engagement opportunities, and offer training, support, and mentorship for our members. And as a first step, we have identified avenues for engagement for individuals who have limited observing resources or no access to the night sky. We have created a group of data mining projects enabling you to participate in cutting-edge research from the comfort of your home. It's not only social distancing this year that prevent people from traveling to their observatories. There are challenges for those of us who live in urban areas, such as light pollution. We live under very polluted skies, bad weather. Massachusetts haven't had many clear nights. These are meaningful projects that require only your computer and that can reveal unknown properties of suspected variable stars. Also, through the recent data mining workshop, we introduced test data to the participants. And actually, because of the different cadence of test observations, you can combine test data and long-term data from the AAVSO database to explore unknown properties of known variable stars. And I'm sure that you can find something new. Would love to see the outcome of this research to the JAVSO. And also, I would like to remind you the Bright Star Monitor telescopes. Don't forget that there's a telescope network, telescope time available to all our members. If you want to try your hand on photometry and or you don't have a telescope of your own or your telescope is under light polluted skies, this is a way for you to be introduced to digital data acquisition. And actually, please join tomorrow's breakout session of BSM, where the leaders of this observing section are going to talk a little bit more about how to actually secure telescope time through BSM. And of course, under this umbrella, we can't forget our journal. The Journal of the AAVSO is a key avenue of variable star research communication. We have to make sure that its content is widely shared, cited, and acknowledged by researchers all over the world. And I'm not gonna tell you more about that because Professor Nancy Morrison, our editor-in-chief, is gonna talk more about the journal. Goal number 2, grow membership and build a vibrant association with a very engaged community. The AAVSO superpower is its active and enthusiastic international community. This means that we serve people with different needs, different priorities, different professional preparation, habits, and cultural backgrounds who are united under the international umbrella of astronomy. Per our mission, we enable anyone, anywhere to participate in scientific discovery through variable star astronomy. We have individuals who are interested in using variable star data for their research projects. We work with educators who introduce astronomy to their students through our data and databases. We collaborate with a very dedicated group of volunteers. And of course, we engage our observers all over the world, those who acquire data through their telescopes, binoculars, DSLR cameras, and share the information with a wider community through the AAVSO's international database. At the AAVSO, we strongly believe that a diverse in age, gender, race, and background scientific citizen science workforce provides the widest range of perspectives and experiences and maximizes creativity in science for the benefit of all. We understand that we do serve this international community, and we want to make sure that we have the ability to reach anyone, anywhere through our programs. So the first thing that we really need to do, reaching anyone, anywhere, is growing our membership. This is part of our mission. For the AAVSO, growing our membership is a key target. Our members are the reasons why we're here. We are a membership organization. And actually, memberships support the AAVSO's work with dues and enable us to bring the programs and services to you all. We've had a very healthy increase of our membership so far. We've reached 1,400 members this year, and we want to continue this trend. We need to continue this trend. We know that there are people who actively interact with the AAVSO through observations and by volunteering their time and energy. We're very, very grateful for that engagement. During this strategic plan process, we also realized that there are people who are very interested in being engaged with the AAVSO through learning from the AAVSO. This is actually a game changer for us as we launch community-focused initiatives and reach out to people we wouldn't include otherwise. So how do we build those communities of individuals? As Gordon mentioned, our observing sections. We've already started by strengthening those observing sections. We encourage section activities and we build collaborators amongst our members to produce the best science they can. Our observing section leaders are enthusiastic and very knowledgeable individuals, both professional and non-professional astronomers, and they can't be the driving force or behind building communities of learning, that's how they call it, for our members. We also recognize that headquarters engagement is essential for the success of those sections. So headquarters staff started being involved in observing section coordination enhancement. In 2020, a new section on equipment instrumentation was added, and we revived two more sections, the high energy network and photoelectric photometry. And also our section leaders worked hard to update the material on their section pages. And we are actually engaged all sections in all kinds of initiatives, starting with our webinar series. As Gordon mentioned, this was one of the most successful initiatives we launched this year. And we made it available to everyone free of charge. Those webinars were based on our observing sections this year and attracted on average 250 attendees. We actually had up to 500 individuals logging in at the same time to attend those presentations. We had people from 60 different countries, 60, and this map shows pretty much the range of individuals we reached all over the world. We also managed to attract sponsors for those webinars to support our overhead, such as the online platform we use, staff time that we used in order to coordinate them. And we are making the recordings available on our YouTube channel. So if you want to listen to some of them, you can just go back and listen to them right now. We will continue offering those webinars, and we're working on identifying sponsors, and we're looking for other ways to unite and outreach our international community through these kind of activities. But overall, we are committed to offer opportunities for engagement of individuals all over the world. We can do that through our virtual meetings and in-person events. We have workshops, webinars, forum discussions, and we want to make sure that all these are welcoming places for exchange of ideas and information so that anyone can be engaged and they can build lasting connections. We want to build communities that are actually connected. Number 3, maintain and enhancing our website and IT tools. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that is happening and many resources invested on our online tools, webpage, IT structure. But this is really important. This is a very significant part of who we are, how we provide tools to facilitate our observers' work and how we enable research. Also, our web pages are our means of engaging our wider community. It's our calling card. It's the first thing that people find when they actually try to find information for us. They introduce our programs to the public. They attract attention to our activities. They celebrate our accomplishments and actually communicate our values and our policies. More than ever, we need to ensure that we maintain a solid and secure infrastructure, curating our webpage and databases as necessary, and follow best practices in software and content management development. What does that mean? Well, with the help of our staff, volunteers, and contractors, we work on strategically enhancing our software tools. As part of this initiative, we established an IT committee, and this IT committee will help the AAVSO address the priorities of its technology and infrastructure moving forward according to our resources. So we are actually trying to listen to the community and build based on the community needs. Also, we need to make sure that we maintain a secure infrastructure. We have subcontracted our IT and web services to Clearview, an outside contractor, and we worked really hard to complete the migration of our infrastructure from Drupal 7 to 8, convert all our tools from Python 2 to Python 3, complete our update to Django 2. All of these upgrades and updates are necessary to ensure that we are up to date in security protocols, that our tools function effectively and securely. We also generated an inventory of all our applications and established an emergency recovery procedure, which will allow us recreating our web server from scratch if we need to. We're very paranoid about security here, and we have to in the world that we live in. And of course, we're keeping multiple and frequent backups, both on the cloud and offline. Actually, we also established data privacy policies. If you would like to learn more, please take a look at them. What they say pretty much is that we collect data only for the purpose that serves the mission of the AAVSO. We don't share, or sell anyone's information to third parties, to be clear. Also, we created a content development strategy for a new website. And for the preview of this new website, please look at the relevant poster that we have made available for you. For this webpage, we consulted with development and marketing experts to follow what they call communication best practices, so that we build a clean and easy to understand webpage whose content is very easily discoverable. Information is organized based on the needs of our community, our observers, our researchers, our members, the educators, our donors, and anyone who would like to know what the AAVSO is all about and what is our contribution to science. Moving on, strengthening our governance. You know, the dynamic nature of our field and of all science nonprofits demands from our board of directors to be informed leaders in order to oversee the work of the AAVSO with accountability and transparency. What that means is that as a board, we continue to improve and educate ourselves to make sure we follow best practices in nonprofit governance. To that extent, we adopted a new committee structure meant to support and evaluate the AAVSO's program growth and impact. We have our governance committees that oversee the organization's portfolio and provide the necessary resources to pursue our programmatic priorities. Those committees are the executive committee, the finance committee, the investment committee, the fundraising committee, and the diversity committee. But we also established 4 operating committees: IT, marketing, programs, and membership. Those include both staff members, board members, and volunteers, and help us improve our organization's effectiveness, help us achieve all 3 of our fundamental objectives: high membership satisfaction, increased impact, long-term financial stability. We also recognize that we need to improve the way we support our volunteer teams. We currently work with more than 120 individuals, not counting our observers who enrich our databases with their data. Those individuals are essential for our work and for our mission, and we're grateful that they share their expertise and time with us. To support those teams better, we have dedicated additional staff time to help organize some of the volunteer teams as needed. For example, our ambassador team and our observing section leadership team meet monthly with staff to share ideas, experiences, discuss projects of interest, share their needs, etc. These are actually some of the teams that we are working with. It's really impressive and humbling to actually work with those individuals. I'd like to keep thanking them for actually coming to the AAVSO and helping us with our goal. And last but not least, long-term financial stability. We need for the AAVSO to become a financially sound and sustainable organization with the financial capacity to support our mission. You heard Gordon actually saying that we need to reduce our endowment withdrawal. We have committed to reducing our endowment withdrawal. Bob Stevens is going to talk a little bit about our financial plans, but the bottom line is that we need to adjust our activities according to our means. As Bob will tell you later, reducing our endowment withdrawal is not enough to support us. We have to grow from where we are now and somehow bring new funds to help us continue our programmatic priorities and serve you, our community, the best way we can. Therefore, we will actually work on fundraising, and that fundraising will support our mission, our existing programs, and enhance our tools as needed. We do count on your membership fees as a means of support, but we're also seeking professional guidance on fundraising activities. We're leveraging personal contacts at NASA and NSF to explore opportunities and funding that is relevant to our mission and can support our existing initiatives through federal grant applications. But not only that, we try to identify and actively pursue grants and donations from foundations, build lasting relationships with them for future support. We need to increase our marketing efforts. What that means is that we need to be on people's radar. We need to communicate our value, we need to communicate our impact, and we need to build trust and confidence in the AAVSO's work. And last but not least, please help us. We need to strengthen membership fundraising campaigns. We do rely on your help to support this organization, especially in this turning point. So These are the 5 main goals of our strategic plan, which will help us move forward in a sustainable way, serving our community and keep us relevant to today's very challenging landscape. And we're really excited for a very bright and sustainable future. With that in mind, all of the above goals can be realized only if we have the relevant means. With implementing some of the initiatives this year, we realize we need resources to expand our program, such as build new instruction videos for newcomers, for example, or improve aspects of our software, some of which is desperately need for rewriting, strengthen our databases, strengthen cybersecurity, engage the right consultants to provide expertise that we don't have within our staff and volunteers. And for this reason, we launched a very ambitious fundraising campaign based on our needs to build the infrastructure we need while reducing the endowment withdrawal to under 5%, and also launch marketing and fundraising programs. The target of this campaign is $200,000 by March 31st. And from early donations and from the full board, we secured $90,000 in donations and pledges. We even received a $10,000 check from the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation in support for this. And that's an unsolicited check. It was amazing as a first contact with that foundation. We will be appealing to our 1,400 members and 5,000 individuals in our rosters who have interacted with us, and we hope to reach the goal of this campaign. But we certainly need your support. Every donation makes a difference. Even small donations have an impact to the AAVSO. Maximizing the number of our donors will make a difference. So if you'd like to donate right now, you can go to our webpage and click the donate button, or you can send us a check at the AAVSO headquarters. And thank you in advance for your support. I'd like to leave you with some final thoughts. We came a really long way. The AAVSO was formed in 1911 as a corporation to promote variable star astronomy and kindred objects. These are corporation paper that actually Gordon dug out for us. Next year, in 2021, we will be celebrating 110 years of this association's work and contribution, 110 years of hard work, activities, of scientific activities, and of building a unique legacy, a unique community, and a unique value to the international community, both professional and non-professional astronomers. We're all astronomers here, really. The last 2 years going through a strategic planning process were real eye-openers for us. We spent those 2 years talking to our community and listening. And while building this strategic plan, we actually learned what the AAVSO means for our community. And it was what it means to you, both professional and non-professional astronomers. And I'd like to share some of those thoughts today. Here we are. I've been an astronomy hobbyist for quite a long time. I'm a total novice here, but proud to say that I am an AAVSO member now. More just because I find the work of all of you are doing so interesting, and I'm gaining a deeper understanding of the universe. Even though I've been an AAVSO member over 45 years, I am still learning something new. I used to do astrophotography. I enjoy variable stars because they're always changing. Every night brings a new experience. The peace of being outside at night with my telescope, just me and a whole lot of variables. There will always be region of parameter space in which the AAVSO observers are the best or only resources for professionals. These are very powerful quotes reflecting how the AAVSO is affecting people's lives, how the variable star work provides perspective, peace, knowledge, fun, excitement when you see something new, the knowledge you're uniquely contributing to science, and the sense of community. We are all the AAVSO. You are the AAVSO. So we are committed to serve you, our community of observers, members, citizen scientists, variable star enthusiasts, educators, researchers from all over the world. All that we do, our planning, this strategic plan, its initiatives, our programs, education, infrastructure, workshops, everything, our meetings are here for you to help your work give you a sense of community and belonging, a sense of value and a legacy. Especially now, social distancing is not social isolations. We're all together celebrating science in this meeting. We're sharing experiences and ideas. We're learning together. The AAVSO is you. I can't say that enough. So we need your help to help us make this association the best it can be to serve you. Please join us as a member, renew your membership, consider donating in our fundraising campaign, and please, please volunteer, join our teams. Anything, everything counts in order to ensure a sustainable and bright future of this association. And with that, I will thank you for your attention. I will take a step back so that Gordon and I will answer some of the questions that you might have. Thank you again for being in our corner. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see what kind of questions we have. And okay, so let's see. Gordon, you're unmuted, right? Is a strategic...
I'm here, go ahead.
Questions from individuals. Is the strategic plan, in the strategic plan, do you still see the organization as the American Association or an international organization? If international, you need to look how you market the organization worldwide.
The short answer is yes, we are international, and yes, we need to do what you just suggested. I think that there's always a discussion to change the name, and actually I've talked to people around the world about this, and I can get both opinions. So we're not planning on changing the name right now. The focus, though, is to bring together the worldwide community.
We have two comments I would like to share with you. One that says, thanks to the welcoming and helping people I found in AAVSO. In AAVSO, I found my love for variable stars, go to discover over 50 and write my first scientific paper. AAVSO has the greatest team. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And then a comment that we have. I volunteer at the National Air and Space Museum. It is refurbishing the entire museum. They're planning on including information on amateur astronomy, and I'm making sure they include the AAVSO. This will reach several million people a year. And my answer to that is, you know my email address, Jay. Please send me a message. Absolutely. These are the types of activities that we need in order to make sure that people know about us and they value the work of AAVSOers. More questions from you. We don't have any questions at this point or comments. If you think of anything during this hour, please type it in. And with that, perhaps we can move. More comments. Please continue the webinars, which we will. And suggestions regarding the opening comments about how to call ourselves. Names of observers for many years. I've used the term technical observer, technical astronomer. I use the term astronomers, honestly. Just some of us get paid to do this business, that's all. So that's the only kind of change, the only difference. I have to tell you, there are many of our members and our observers who know way more about astronomical equipment than I do. And that's fine, because I'm learning from them. That's the value of the AAVSO, we learn from each other. Two suggestions. These are specific suggestions for the AAVSO 109th annual meeting that I'm going to send to AAVSO headquarters. And also, how does one go about joining the new committees? aavso@aavso.org. Send us an email. As simple as that. All right, and from there, I'm going to give the stage to our treasurer, Bob Stevens.
Okay, I'm going to use the phrase of the year, no doubt, called "Let me share my screen." And here we are. Okay, and go. All right. Okay, it's been a wild year. We started this strategic planning actually a couple of years ago and got engaged with CAP last fall and went through a very extensive process, and they developed all sorts of spreadsheets and wonderful stuff. And we had the plan all in place, about March, and then the pandemic hit. So it's been a very, very wild ride since then. And I'm going to give you a look at our financial statements. This is the traditional view, balance sheet for those who might operate in business or so on. Balance sheet is simply a list of our assets at a specific point in time, usually the end of the year. And so our end of year is September 30th each year. We're a fiscal year organization. Middle column is 2020. I always put the prior year on the right just for comparative purposes. And you can see that right now we have about $13.7 million in assets, the most of which is in our endowment fund. And for the eagle-eyed among you, you'll notice that the endowment fund is actually down almost $1 million from the year before. As I said, it's been a very wild ride. And there's a few liabilities to take off of that. And so basically our assets at the end of the year are about $13.6 million. To give a better visualization of this, here's a pie chart of our assets. And you can see that our investment, our endowment fund is 89% of everything we own. Fixed assets, the gray pie chart, that's our building and some other assets. And honestly, that's a kind of a misnomer here because those are stated at original cost. If they were stated at the current market value, that would be 2 or 3 times higher, a bigger piece of the pie. And then everything else, cash and everything else, just a small little sliver. So we need to concentrate on the investments, and we have been for the last several years now. Both Gordon and Stella have touched upon how much we're drawing out of the investments. We've known for quite a while that we've been taking too much out. And then when the CAP team got involved, it was their eyes got rather large and said, guys, we need to do something about that. And we said, we're fully aware and we're hoping for answers from you. And they helped us develop those answers. This is what's the traditional statement of activities, also known as the profit and loss statement, also known as the income statement, and several other names. Again, current year numbers are in the middle, and you can see that we brought in just a little over $250,000 in what we call our operating income. This is the dues, the contributions, and other things. You'll notice that it's also down about $90,000 from the year before, and that's simply because in 2019, we got a couple of large bequests from estates, and those are kind of hard to count on and project, and they're very welcome when they happen. You'll also notice that the investment income, we lost $200,000 in a portfolio of $13 million. Prior year, we had made $300,000, and that was a bit of a down year due to all the fluctuations. And then we have our expenses, which have been rather static in recent years. And I'm not going to present the budget to you, but our expenses were right in our projected budget. So you can see our income. This is where we lost almost $900,000, and that's mostly the loss in the investment pool. A different view of this is where we take those numbers are now in the right column, and we spread it amongst the things that happen. We've got some restricted donations that come to us for various reasons. We have our endowment fund, and the quote unquote unrestricted funds is what we spend on our operations. And those are always designed to basically break even. And in fact, they did again this year. And so I'm going to show you, this is our revenues coming in to better visualize. We can see in this showing that 62% came from a draw from our endowment fund. This is slightly less than 5% and more than we should be taking. Various people can argue, but most people talk in ranges of 4 to 4.5%. So we're taking a little bit too much out. The blue pie chart up around the 1 o'clock on the clock dial, that was an additional withdrawal from the endowment fund authorized by the board about 1.5 years ago to fix all of those infrastructure problems that Stella was just talking about. Bringing Clearview in to migrate all that stuff, take everything up to the cloud, fix all of our security holes, all that stuff costs a lot of money and is a significant effort, and we don't have the capability on staff to do that. So we hired Clearview, and that's an expense that it will be basically now going away. And so we've already stopped. We stopped a couple of months ago drawing the extra amount necessary to have Clearview finish that work. Other parts of the puzzle here, dues, $85,000. That's been fairly steady, but we already know for next year that's going to be going up about 10% due to growth in the membership. That's great. Contributions are about 8%, $82,000. We are going to collect more than twice that for the next upcoming year. Meetings, 32,000. That's a nice chunk of revenue, but we actually lose money when we hold live meetings. And rent, that's the little annex at the bottom at the ground floor of the building, and we rent that out. And then a few other things. So what do we spend all that money on? Well, personnel expenses are the largest chunk of the pie. They always have been. And then you can see the contract services. That's Clearview. It'll be going down next year. That's everything else that we do, all the other professionals that we hire to help run the organization, including the attorneys, the auditors, and a whole slew of other people. We are adding to that some people to help in marketing next year and some other things. You can see the meetings cost us $49,000. That was the meeting in Las Cruces last year. So we did not make money on that, but we don't ever expect to make money on that. Depreciation, $50,000. That's a non-cash expense. That's a calculation of the building wearing out. And miscellaneous, it's a fairly large chunk, but that's insurance, utilities, all sorts of other stuff, office supplies, everything goes into that little chunk. So that just kind of shows where the money gets spent. Now I'm taking my treasurer hat off and I'm putting my hat on concerning the investment committee. A lot of you know, but not everybody, that we switched investment managers last year, and we migrated the portfolio over to Raymond James in June. There were some reasons. Our old investment managers were always slightly underperforming the market as a whole. Plus, they got us involved in some investments that were great for the time, but turned out not to be pandemic proof. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Down here, there's this thing called MLPs. Those are master limited partnerships. Oil and gas, that means that they're invested in companies that service the oil and gas industry, like pipelines and equipment and stuff. Those had always been great investments. Those had always spun off all sorts of cash, and that funded our monthly cash flow needs. But they don't perform very well when people stop driving and flying on planes and stuff like that. This thing here, don't be thrown off by the name hedge fund. This is a fund designed to mimic bonds and stuff like that. Well, the things that they were involved in didn't do so well, and we're locked into those for a time, but those two bottom ones were moving out. But what we can see up here is that we now have a very traditional investment portfolio of 70% equities, 30% fixed assets. These alternatives are designed to mimic fixed income assets. And then we got some cash in there. So it's a very traditional portfolio moving forward. And how has it performed? Well, as I mentioned, the prior advisors, they were always slightly underperforming the market. It was really kind of annoying. This is a very, very short baseline, 3 months, so it's nothing to write home about, but we in fact overperformed the market since they had it in July. And so we brought in 5%, the market as a whole, 4.6%. And you can see that, well, here our MLPs down here only lost 14% as opposed to everybody else out there losing 16%. So yay, go team. But everything I just showed you, and now that we know the top line numbers are what's happening up in the investment pools in the endowment fund, has been highly affected by a very wild ride since March. I was showing a plot to the board the other day, and Chris Larson commented, goes, "Oh, that looks like a light curve." Yes, it does. It's supposed to be a long-term variable, but in fact, it ended up being a cataclysmic variable. And I was highly annoyed because in the last week of the year, our investment portfolio dropped like $200,000. And that was right here because some politician said some dumb thing and spooked the market. It came back, but after the numbers that I have to report to you, and we get up to here, and this is just about the time that the market figures out that we're having a surge in coronavirus, and it's looking pretty bad, so it drops. And this is right about the time that the Pfizer comes out and says, oh, by the way, we have a nice vaccine coming out. We'll have it ready for you in the spring or fall. So, and anywho, this is supposed to be a nice upward slope, and we're getting all of this sort of stuff. So at this point in time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, or maybe I'll just leave it up in case there's a question or two and somebody wants to go back to something.
We have no questions.
Wow, I either did a great job or everybody's asleep and needs a new cup of coffee. I'm not sure which the case is.
Or we're all stunned by what you presented. Bob, thank you. Doesn't mean that we won't have any questions, so I will keep monitoring. Oh, actually, there you go. Have we considered monetizing our webinars in some way?
No, we are currently providing those as a member benefit, although we do monetize the choice courses, but all of that ends up down here in this little sliver. So yes, we are very appreciative for every $1,000. And in fact, for the webinars, we received $2,600 in thank you donations related to that. And that was very nice. But as to the big picture, of course, it doesn't, move the needle very much.
And I would like to add that our webinars is a way for us to reach out to individuals who wouldn't reach out otherwise. So we will continue offering them for free. Another question, must meetings lose money?
I think that's more of a statement, and it's very true that meetings are provided as a benefit to the members for all of the other things that we're trying to accomplish. And you can argue that meetings in a way bring in money because they create all of those connections for donations and everything else that cause the organization to happen. But in a strict accounting for it, you rarely get more revenues than you get expenses for a meeting, for a live meeting.
Yeah, and I understand we all love meeting with each other. I mean, I really miss seeing people in person. This is part of who we are, right? This is the big value of our meetings, bringing everybody together. Yeah. Another question, what is the difference between endowment and contributions?
Okay. Think back to the first couple of slides I showed. A balance sheet is a snapshot of your assets at a specific point in time. The endowment fund, our investment pool, is an asset. Contributions are revenues that come in over time, and they can feed the endowment fund or they can feed current operations depending upon how they've been targeted.
Cool. A comment that we just got, I'm a new member who joined because I saw one of the webinars. Thank you so much. This is wonderful to hear. Yeah. More questions? Well, there are no more questions now. So we're going to give you a break, Bob, and here's another one. Have we considered using our own members' professional experience in place of costly external contractors for services such as marketing? I'm going to answer that one. And the answer is yes. We can't find all expertise that we need amongst our members, though. And we really need to realize that it's a different ball game working with volunteers, and we really appreciate every hour that our volunteers provide to us, and working with contractors who have to deliver on time. So it's in as much as we would love to engage more of our members' professional expertise, there are some aspects that really need contractors, external contractors. Another question.
I absolutely agree with what Stella said. If you happen to be a professional marketeer who would like to volunteer, give us a call, though. So this is where, if you have expertise and want to be involved, we can definitely use you.
Yeah, but there's certain things that you would not, have members do. It wouldn't.
Right.
They wouldn't want to take on the liability for managing the investment portfolio. You want to hire a firm to do that has access to all the resource tools. Handling the IT infrastructure, that turns out to be such a big job that you need a company with lots of resources behind it to handle all of those jobs. But there's other jobs out here that are very appropriate that we would love to get our members more involved in.
Absolutely. Second, what both Bob and Gordon says.
Yeah.
What is the biggest, another question, what is the biggest thing we could do to move the needle? I would assume that we're talking about funds.
I think we're talking about revenues here.
Okay.
First and foremost, we have a plan in place to grow the endowment fund by an appreciable amount. Obviously, it's going to require a lot of things happening over the next year or so, and so whether they happen or not, or happen in a different way than I imagine. So I won't get into all of that. But that's the biggest thing to do, is that we bring down the draw more than we have brought it down, and increase the size so that there's a bigger pool to draw from. That's the first big thing. Second big thing is, and this is what Cap pointed out to us, is that our contributions are not of a size of appropriate to this organization. So that's the next thing, is to work on that. 8% needs to be much higher to support the organization in the way that we wish to have it go.
Here's another question. Do donations in general qualify for employer matching? Actually, Bob, I think there is a tax advantage from the donations, right?
Yeah, most employers, and now I'm putting my CPA hat on, they don't, some employers give contributions, large ones, some of the IT ones, give contributions to what their programs that their employees are involved in. But most small and medium-sized employers don't do such a thing. But when it comes to making donations at the individual level, there's a lot of different ways of doing it. And in fact, some people have used some of the more exotic ways, such as, hey, I've got a required minimum distribution coming out of my IRA this year. I don't need the money. I wish I didn't have to draw it. Can I make that straight to the organization? And the answer is yes. That means you get the deduction, but you don't have to count the income. So those sorts of techniques work. Speak with your tax advisor on it. And there's something new for 2020, which may be of interest to a lot of people. A lot of us can't donate anymore because we don't itemize deductions. And that's what a charitable contribution is an itemized deduction. The IRS pushed the standard deduction up high enough that only a small portion of society in America actually itemizes anymore. Well, when the pandemic hit, as part of one of the relief packages that were passed, charities were telling Congress, we're in trouble. People stopped donating to us. So Congress put in a rule for 2020 only that says you can take a above the line deduction of up to $300. That means you don't have to itemize at all. It comes straight off of the income. That's only for 2020, but my guess is that's going to be extended in the future. But nonetheless, if you want to donate, this is your chance. You can do it up to the end of the year, up to $300, and we would be very appreciative of any funds that we get.
Yeah. There are two questions on Amazon Smile, so we're going to answer both of them. Have you made the AAVSO a charity for Amazon Smile, and how much revenue comes from Amazon Smile? So let me answer those questions. Okay. The AAVSO is a charity for Amazon Smile. I donate there a lot, especially this year since I'm ordering everything on Amazon. And how much revenue comes? Not that much. It's about $200, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's not a major resource for us, but it's $200 more than what we had before. Yeah. So everything is welcome. A question for you. Have you considered mailing requests for donations? I get about 20 a day, and I think AAVSO should join the party.
I think that's your question, Stella.
Yeah, that's for you.
We actually sat down and did some math, and it turns out that mailing requests from, printing to mailing, etc., does not bring its own expenses. It's an expense that we just can't afford. We do send some mailing requests, but the bulk will come digitally. And we really appreciate it if you check your spam folder just in case our emails go to your spam folder. Another question, could you please repeat the name of the new investment manager?
Okay. The new investment manager is a subdivision of Raymond James. So Raymond James has been in all of the big investment houses that bought up all of the talented investment managers out there. So we're using one of theirs.
And the last question, how about using Facebook for donation drives led by members? I'll answer that. I am running right now a fundraiser for my birthday, which is tomorrow. So we are using Facebook as much as we can. It hasn't brought much. Let me put it this way. So with that, I would like to ask Nancy, our editor-in-chief, Nancy Morrison. Bob, thank you again for a very understandable report. I love listening to your reports. I understand your reports. This is wonderful. And let's ask our editor-in-chief, Professor Nancy Morrison, to join us and share her screen. And let's talk about the journal.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me. I've been the editor-in-chief of the AAVSO for just over a year, and it's been a very pleasant year. I want to give you a brief introduction to the AAVSO. It's a referee journal. We are emphasizing friendly refereeing in the sense that I am actively serving as a communications bridge in case there is any communication gap between possible novice paper writers and expert referees. The journal is free of author charges for people who are AAVSO members, which is a bargain compared to what some other journals charge to publish. It's also full open access, which means that you do not have to be a subscriber or an AAVSO member in order to read the papers. In the context of the previous conversation, guess what that means? That means that the AAVSO does not bring any revenue into the society. Therefore, it's dependent on AAVSO resources for its support. So please keep those resources coming, and thank you very much. Just a little overview of our content. Oh, more about refereeing, which I should mention and should have included on the slide, but didn't. Just as the identity of the referee is unknown to the author, so the identity of the author is unknown to the referee. That means we have dual anonymous refereeing. The goal of this is so that the referee's judgment will be based only on the scientific content of the paper and not any judgments about the workplace of the author or the author's professional status or anything else. In order for this to work properly, the author needs to remove any identifying name and institutional information, and preferably also remove the acknowledgements from the paper and also any identifying other information from the paper, leaving only what is needed for the referee to judge the science. Okay, and this has been shown, by the way, if it's done properly, to reduce bias in judging of scientific articles and proposals in cases where it's been used. As far as journals are concerned, the AAVSO is a leader in the field in this regard. Okay, we publish material related to all the activities of the association, variable star research using various methods. We publish articles on software and instrumentation, education and public outreach of a relevant kind, and history. And so in the next slide, I'm going to give you a breakdown of what we published in the two most recent volumes. This is a bar graph where the length of each bar is the total number of articles, and the category, the 5 categories that I just enumerated are color-coded: research, instruments, data, education, outreach, and history. The The four most recent volumes are here. You can see a growth in total content, although the mix among the categories has varied. There is a strong uptick during the second half of 2020. This is a volume which is not yet complete. It will be closing out next month, and there may be one or two more papers in it by that time. I, of course, don't have enough information to tell you whether this is simply a one-time uptick or whether it's a trend. I do know that we still have a lot of papers in the pipeline not yet published. And so volume 49, number 1, may also be quite large. The AAVSO is working to encourage spectroscopy. And I very much enjoyed the spectroscopy workshop last weekend. And so here's a breakout of the papers that we've published on spectroscopy. The number is much smaller, of course, 2 articles in volume 48, number 2, out of a total of over 20, but it's strong growth from the previous couple of volumes. And finally, in view of our mission to promote collaboration between amateur and, if I may use the term amateur as a grab bag for all the different terms that Gordon enumerated, between, let's say, between people who make a living doing astronomy and people who don't, most of our papers are written by teams of authors that include both kinds of people. A few are professional only, and a few are quote unquote amateur only. And here's the breakdown of papers that have only amateur authors. I'm not sure what the significance of this decline is, but on the other hand, it may not be a real decline because the numbers are very small. Okay, what I want to do now is give you a couple of highlights of the past year in terms of publication. And then I will give you a little bit of hope for the future. As Stella indicated, I have a lot of different ideas for the future, but I'm going to just concentrate on one. Okay, but first to look back, the highlights. Here's one from volume 48, number 1. One of my very favorites. This is a product of the association Variable Stars South, which we heard about yesterday. They worked very hard on becoming the isolation both in physical space and in terms of longitude in the southern hemisphere. This is a double binary star. It's a quadruple system, including one eclipsing binary and one wider pair that's spectroscopic only. And the two pairs orbit each other in a period of about 40 years. And one of the goals of this paper was to try to determine the period of that wide orbit. So this is a graph of the O-C from the minimum timings of the eclipse, where they're looking for the light travel time effect of the wide orbit. And as you can see, there are a lot of different data sources involved, as is necessary to cover such a long time period. And they are very close over here to closing the loop, getting back to the 0 phase and determining the long period. And when they're able to do that, that will be a step toward determining the fundamental parameters of these stars, which is very important because they're both O stars, very massive, and O stars are rare. So determining their physical properties is important for astrophysics. This system is particularly difficult because the cycle number on the x-axis refers to a 6-day cycle. That's the period of the eclipsing binary, and a particular difficult detail here is that the period is actually 6.00 days to several decimal places, 5.9 something, which means that from any one longitude, it takes a very, very, very long time to see the whole light curve of that eclipsing binary. Okay, for my second highlight, I wanted to use a spectroscopy paper. This was another large collaboration, although there were only 2 authors, one amateur, one advanced expert amateur, and one professional. This was a high-resolution spectroscopy of the eclipsing binary VV Cephei. This star has an M giant, which is transferring matter to a hot companion, and when the gas gets close to the hot companion, it's ionized and produces H-alpha emission. So this graph shows you the equivalent width of the H-alpha emission line as a function of Julian date. And you're looking at the equivalent width as a function of time during the eclipse. And you can clearly see a modulation here, which has a period of 42 days. And that was, which persists during the eclipse. And so that's telling you something about the hot companion, presumably. and that this is the first time that that periodicity had ever been seen. Now, from what I've just said, you might get the idea that I have a bias in favor of large collaborations using massive amounts of data. And certainly those make a big impact, but that's not really my bias. I think that small results can be equally important and path-breaking. But I wanted to show a spectroscopy paper. There are some small results, smaller projects in the queue waiting to be published, but unfortunately they aren't published yet. So I'll have to wait till next time to highlight them. Okay, so my plan for the future, what I would like to highlight is open data. Open data is becoming very important in the field. We saw yesterday how people are making superb use of mining open data archives when space missions or large observatories place their gathered data online so that anybody can use them. Well, and this produces very impressive results. You can also get data for free from published journal articles if you know where to look. Most journals do that. They vary. The journals vary in the openness of the data. Sometimes you have to have a subscription in order to access the data for a period of time after the data are published. As I said, that's not the case with our journal. Anybody can access the data at any time. For a long time, there has been an FTP data archive where authors can place their data and readers can download those data files. I'm enlarging that policy to ask authors to place their data tables online in a format that can be read by a computer. If the tables include raw observation, or I don't mean raw, but observational data as analyzed for the paper, with a short sample table embedded in the article. That's the way other journal other journals do it. Authors can always request to place their data online. In fact, shortly before I became the editor, I got a request from an author asking whether I would be willing to have his rather voluminous data archives placed online, and I said, of course. And that person is in fact responsible for 2 of our papers in volume 48, and has another one under consideration for volume 49. You can also embed your data in the paper in the sense of having the data that you use to make a figure accessible by a link in the data caption, so that people can look at a figure, say that's cool, and I'd love to get those data. And if they have the link there, they can download the data and either recreate the figure or use the data for their own analysis. So that's one of the things that I'd like to continue and enlarge. And I'm grateful for the fact that data facility is in existence, and all I have to do is enlarge on it. And with that, I would like to conclude and go to my final slide, which is to thank all the people who make the JAVSO a success. AAVSO staff who work directly on the journal and also who provide computer support. Of course, the society leadership has to be thanked for providing the resources that enable the journal to run. I want to thank the previous editor, John Percy, in particular, who I believe is here in the audience. I saw his name go by at the beginning of the meeting. Thank you, John, for handing over a quality operation and making those data facilities available. Of course, I want to thank all the authors who submit those papers. Keep those papers coming. Readers who once in a while provide a valuable insight into what's going on, and for providing us with our means for our reason for existence. And finally, the referees, who, because they're anonymous, get no public credit. But you know who you are, and I want to thank you very much. It can be a thankless job at times, other than this, and again, without you, we could not function. So that is all I have, and I guess unless there are questions about something I showed, I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Nancy. And actually, we do have a couple of questions for you. The one says, given that some of our observatories cannot be made anonymous, how do we approach discussing the observatory under dual anonymous review?
Sometimes people do redact the name of their observatory. I had one where the observatory was called Unknown Observatory, parenthesis, capital U, capital O, which was enjoyable. But, and you can do that, but you have to be careful because sometimes the identity of the observatory is important in judging the quality of the observations. So if you do want to redact the name of your observatory, you might want to nevertheless include information like the latitude and longitude, the level of light pollution, if any, the climatic information such as the number of usable nights per year and things like that, so that the referee can judge the quality of the observations. But I should have used the caveat that it's not always possible to avoid knowing who the author is, and we have to live with that. And ultimately, we come down to trusting that the referees will render an unbiased and objective opinion. But what we want to do is make it as easy for them to do that as possible.
Another question says, my first scientific paper published many years ago was in the then new JAVSO. I'm not sure that my first student paper would be deemed acceptable today. Does it seem to you that there's higher learning curve today for beginning authors? If so, how can beginners be helped? Webinars, connections with observing section leaders, choice courses may help, but are they enough?
Excellent question. As I mentioned, I do work with beginning authors to sometimes before the referee sees the paper to coach them a little bit on how to improve the paper so that the referee won't be distracted by beginner errors as there sometimes are. We do have the AAVSO mentoring program does extend to the journal. We have people who are willing to help with writing. And I haven't actually we have a volunteer for that. I haven't actually engaged that person yet, but I certainly will if it seems appropriate. What I've done so far is simply direct people in how to make a proper reference list. Sometimes there are reorganizations that are needed, and so forth. So I without giving detailed help on writing, I try to be as helpful as I can.
A question here is asking, what is the cost of running the journal for free?
Stella, would you like to answer that one?
Oh my goodness. So
let me make a couple of, based on my understanding, it's mainly staff time. And there's one staff person, that's Mike, who spends full time on the journal. And so that's a cost that's easy to enumerate. But everyone else involved is spending part-time on it. And so it would, in order to figure out what that costs, it would be necessary to break down each person's work hours in terms of time spent on the journal. Stella, would you like to take it from there?
That's right. So it is a contractor's time and 2 different staff members who are involved in the journal. And also we do spend some funds on infrastructure. Nancy's plan is ambitious but appropriate. So we are, this is how we have committed to make this journal a huge success for the whole community. So we are spending money on building whatever back end of infrastructure is required. I don't have a number for you. We can definitely discuss how much the journal costs in the future report. It's not free for us, but it seems to be increasing attention and need for this kind of avenue of actually publishing correct research based on its merit, not on the identity of the author. So we consider it as part of what we do for our community. Another question, do you know how many professional astronomers read the JAVSO? Some professionals now seem to use arXiv as the primary source to review rather than reading all journals. So should AAVSO publish on arXiv? And also, what is the view of AAVSO on authors published on arXiv?
Well, in answer to the first part of the question, it's the author's prerogative whether to place the manuscript on the arXiv or not. A few authors do. One reason I would encourage people to do that, but I would, as a general rule, not encourage people to place unrefereed manuscripts on archive. Ideally, you should wait until until you revise the manuscript in response to a referee report. Now, the time between that happening and the article being published is very short. So the lifetime of a manuscript on archive as a sole publication would be short. However, you're quite correct that having an archive would make it more visible to the community. And so I would encourage people to do that. I would also, by the way, make the journal more visible to the community.
Yeah, so it's exactly
So
what you said.
Helpful.
What you said, Nancy, that it's up to individuals to publish, not the journal itself. And because, at least in our journal, we have an open source license, or we don't have like a copyright license, but for most journals where they are copyrighted, the material is finally published cannot go on the archive. So it's a very interesting kind of balance. So here are a couple of more questions. There are models of anonymous review that reveals referees after the fact. Are we thinking about offering that as an option?
Oh, very good question. Well, I've thought about it briefly, but not in any terribly serious way. It's certainly something that we could consider doing going forward. Once there's an intermediate path that one could take, which is simply to list all the referees at the end of the year. I would have to get their permission to do that, but I'm a little concerned because the numbers are so small that anonymity might not be possible to preserve. So that's where I am on that one.
And the last one, regarding acknowledgements in an article, when you said to not include acknowledgements, did you mean for referee anonymity purposes only, or did you mean acknowledgements should not be included in the published article?
Oh, they should definitely be included in the published article. No, it's the suggestion is to remove them for referee anonymity purposes only, and then put them back in. I admit that this creates some work. If you submit a significantly different manuscript initially, and then you have to make sure that you put all the relevant information back in to the final version, this is going to be extra trouble, but it's also possible that it will make the paper better on the whole, because you'll be looking at the whole paper as you do that, and you may see things that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. So revision, revision, revision.
And that's what we're focusing on. Thank you, Nancy, again, for a very informative update on how the journal is doing. The journal is very near and dear to my heart, so we'll keep making it better. And your efforts, of course, is the driving force behind this.
I appreciate that, and thank you very much.
And with that, I'm going to share my screen again for the final portion of our meeting today. That has to do with other business. One of the things that I'm really missing in this virtual environment is actually getting together with friends during our meetings. But I'm really sure that this will recover, we'll come back, we'll meet again in person. We will get to have coffee and lunch. But at the same time, it's true that we've lost some members this past year without actually having specific individuals right now. I am thinking of a couple that I just won't see again. So if you would like to join me for a short moment of silence in memory of those that we won't see again, but left their legacy with the AAVSO, please just quiet your background for a second. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So with that, let's discuss a couple of other items of our meeting. First, I would like to acknowledge and thank wholeheartedly some individuals who made this meeting possible, and some individuals have been our closest collaborators without whom we wouldn't have survived this difficult year. First, I would like to thank the organizers of the workshops that we just completed. It was a an almost impossible task to put all those individuals in a virtual environment to actually provide useful information to workshop participants, both for spectroscopy and for data mining. Especially the chair of the committee for the spectroscopy workshop, Ken Hudson, and the members, Francois Cochard, David Doctor, Woody Sims, and Dave Whalen, who put together 4 days of intense learning of spectroscopy, virtual learning of spectroscopy, and also Colin Littlefield, who was the leading force behind the data mining project, Ken Hudson and Gordon Myers, who have been involved from the very beginning of that concept and brought very interesting information, detailed information, to those members who are interested in data mining from a test satellite. So that actually strengthens our program, strengthens our expertise, and we're looking forward to future virtual events that would actually bring this kind of knowledge and expertise to all of you all over the world. I would be amiss without thanking my closest collaborators at headquarters. And these are people who are working with me at headquarters, our staff, and they're working very hard behind the scenes and who were very involved in our discussions during the strategic planning process. This has been a very difficult year. Everyone had to adjust and work from home. So those individuals made sure that the work of the AAVSO continues without disruption, considering how COVID-19 has disrupted our lives and added anxiety. The fact that the AAVSO continued our programs and services without any disruption is because those staff members, we all adjusted quickly in the new norm, and we learned how to work and communicate virtually, which is actually a testament of true dedication to the association and its mission. And I'm very, very proud to have them in our team. So please join me in thanking them for the hard work and dedication. And first, I would like to thank Lindsay Ward, who has been coordinating this virtual meeting and all the complex logistics, helps the presenters, web pages, Zoom links, everything, the meeting and the workshops. She is our communications manager, and she's doing office administration duties as well. She's also managing the AAVSO Ambassador Program. She's coordinating marketing work at the AAVSO. So thank you so much, Lindsay, for providing us this opportunity to get together even virtually. Bert Pablo is our staff astronomer. He's working behind the scenes on technical infrastructure, or the web page, the databases, server migration, server curation, everything you're going to see on our new web pages. He's been the driving force behind it. He's been communicating with Clearview and working very hard. And also he is coordinating our observing section leaders, and he's been helping with coordinating the webinars this past year. It's been a lot of work behind the scenes that made all the programs that you see possible. Elizabeth Walgan, she is a technical assistant, but she's also the JVSO associate editor. She's working on alerts and campaigns, program communication, or help desk, special projects. She actually helped digitize our full membership information database, which was on cards. So that was her side project. And right now we have all the information online as we need it and in our fingertips when we need it. Sarah Beck, who is a technical assistant. She's working on data validation, management of our volunteer validation reports, AID sunspot entry, new observer data validation, observer support, all kinds of special technical projects when it comes to our databases, tools, web pages, and also she's identifying choice course instructors. So she's the first person who is reaching out to our choice course instructors to engage them in that work. Sebastian Otero, he is the heart and soul of VSX, and he's also the manager of our mentoring program. He's also working on alerts, campaigns, scientific projects, help desk, and all kinds of aspects of interacting with observers. Kathy Spires, she's an operations manager. She's working again behind the scenes to make sure that we're alive and well. HR benefits, in-house bookkeeping, building maintenance, meeting coordination administration, membership renewals, annual campaign administration, all kinds of things. She's overseeing the work of operations. And last but not least, Mike Saladiga, who is a contractor and he's the JVSO managing editor. His work is focused on the journal. So thank you all for making this a very productive year, for keeping us afloat and energized. I mentioned that all staff members have been very involved with our strategic planning process, and they are involved with implementing the strategic plan in the years to come. Also, a big thank you to our board members. These individuals are in our governance team, but they've been working so closely with all of us who have been involved with the strategic plan that actually it's an above and beyond. We're talking about serving in any capacity that they could, task forces, subcommittees, surveys, interviews. I was counting how many board members we had this past year. Between April and October, we had 18 board meetings. We were meeting every single week, discussing different aspects of the strategic plan. We had more than 10 individuals on call every single week. That's dedication. So thank you to all. Thank you, Gordon Myers, Bill Stein, Richard Berry, Bob Stevens, Chris Larson, Bob Buckheim, Ken Hudson, Greg Sivakov, Joyce Guzik, Bob Massey, Brad Vigi, Dave Colwell, and Michael Cook. It's been a pleasure working with you these past 2 years for the strategic planning, and I hope that we're going to relax a little bit coming up. And of course, a special thank you to the CAP team. This is our pro bono Harvard Business School partners who gave us a different perspective of the association this past year, pushed us to think outside the box and help us come with the strategic plan. And actually, some of them are still involved with us, serving in committees and task forces. So in recognition for the dedication and service to the AAVSO, they are awarded the 2020 Directors Award. Marilyn Averill, Al Eisenberg, Gene Friedman, John Giudici, Brian Copperell, Arthur Pacer, and Diogo Teixeira. Thank you so much. Also, please look at the poster for AAVSO Observer Awards. As I mentioned, these are individuals who will receive their awards digitally this year. So thank you so much for reaching milestones in your observing, and we're looking forward to more data. We need more data. A big thank you to our volunteers. Without you, we wouldn't be here. It takes a village, right? Those individuals help with various aspects of our operations and science. We reach the AAVSO with knowledge, help us improve as an organization, and it would be impossible to have all those expertise in place at headquarters. We're talking about 120 individuals. Please see the relevant poster with their names and the projects they're involved with. And last but not least, our members, thank you so much for being in our corner. Your membership actually gives us a purpose. We serve a community and we know that you are with us. You're also supporting us through your donations and through your membership dues. So it's really wonderful to see you in our corner. And actually, I would like to acknowledge our members who have been with us for more than 25 years. We have 200 people that have been long-time members of the AAVSO, 50 of which have been continuous members of the AAVSO for more than 50 years, 50. So thank you so much for being in our corner. Thank you for being loyal to the AAVSO and its mission. Thank you so much for your support. And with that, I'm going to pass the slideshow to Gordon Myers, who's going to tell us a little bit about our election results. Gordon, it's all yours.
Gordon, you're muted.
I guess I should unmute, huh?
That helps.
That helps. Thank you very much, Stella. Thank you. I would like to first kind of really wrap up this membership meeting here with a couple of key points. First, we had our elections for our new board members, and hold on, I've got to be able to change slides here.
Drum roll.
Yeah, I know, it's just that my window went away. There we go. So here we are. Here are the new board members. I think, well, most of you know a lot of these people because you voted for them. Karen Kinamuchi, John Briggs, Ken Hudson, and Bob Buckheim. Ken and Bob are reelected, and Karen and John are new members of the board. So I really appreciate having you all on the board. As Stella has mentioned, it's been a phenomenal work effort over the last couple of years. The board it makes a huge difference. And I thank all of the board members for the time that they invest in AAVSO's future. Also, as you probably know, annually we elect the officers of the board, and we made no change this year. People were reelected to their current position. So I'm sticking on for a third year. Bill as the first vice president, Richard second vice president, Bob as treasurer, and Chris as secretary. And again, I would just reiterate, each of these people is just crucial to the success of the organization. And their time and their effort is really appreciated. We had the vote on the bylaw changes. We had really two fundamental proposals. One was revising the process for membership approval of bylaw changes. This came out of some comments that came out of last year's cycle. This added more time for the review for members' comments before we put up a final version of the bylaws for approval. That was approved. You can see 173 to 2. And the other change, which I think will really benefit the organization, is the duration of the terms of the board members. We're switching it from 2 years to 3 years. I think that really helps because it takes, I'm going to say it takes a year for board members to really come up to speed on what's going on in the organization and to get heavily involved. And this way they can remain involved longer. Then again, the vote was overwhelmingly in favor of that. So thank you very much, all of you who voted, and we appreciate the approval of the changes. Let me just kind of wrap it up. I don't know how to fully express, what I would like to get across to each of you as members of the organization. I think that this organization has a phenomenal future ahead of it. I think, when we started the strategic planning effort, we didn't really know the answer to that question. And there were people who were doubters. What we have found out is really what I discussed earlier, is that the demand and the things that the demand is overwhelming. The things that amateurs can do and how they can participate in variable star astronomy and really helping advance the science and knowledge of the universe. I mean, it's literally what we do. There's more and more opportunity for that. I truly believe we're at an inflection point in the history of this organization. I see us, I've thrown out numbers, and when we first threw them out, people would laugh. Why can't we go from 1,200 to 1,500 members in 2 years? Well, guess what? We're now at 14. That just, to me, is the beginning. Why don't we get to 2,000 members in, I don't know, 5 years? How about doubling our membership? 3,000. Why not? There are amateurs, the circulation of astronomy and sky and telescope magazines is one's at 50,000 and the other's at 100,000. There's worldwide interest in what we do. We are a very unique organization in that we have plans and programs to really teach people and get them involved and give them opportunities to work with others. And I just would like to ask all of you to join us, enjoy it. Be an active member, get involved in the observing sections, volunteer. I mean, there's a lot of fun in volunteering. You get to know others, you get to develop new friendships, support the organization, do observations, talk about us to your friends, bring new people in. And that financial campaign, and that is a part of it. We've talked about the finances. And this is, I guess like I hate to use the analogy given where the world is right now, but it's a little like some of the political campaigns. We need everybody to donate to our campaign. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. This is a small amount. It's a number of people who donate, which will allow us to meet our $200,000 objective. And there are the other things we'll be doing to raise money, but that's part of the future. And I just think we're in a very unique place. I think we're very fortunate to live in the time we live, when the technology and the advances in knowledge of astrophysics. And I want to ask you, join, get involved, have fun, and support. So with that, I will wrap it up for the day. I guess, Stella, so we start up in how soon? 20, 30 minutes?
We don't have any more questions. We are going to take a 20-minute break and come back with our science program. Of course, we're doing science.
I know, it's 20 minutes, right?
Please stay tuned. This is the same link that we're going to follow in the afternoon, the second part of our program today. We'll see you in 20 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. introduce my puppy to everyone.